Okay. The link here, by the way, is between the council and the Kentucky Association of Manufacturers is the fact that Martin sits on the board of the council.
Correct.
Is that correct?
It is.
Let's talk a little bit about where manufacturing plays a part in all of this. The economic health and well-being of the nation and the economy is of obvious concern to manufacturing. But bringing it down to the workplace, how does financial literacy play a role in workplace well-being?
How this relates to the workplace is in two ways. One is the ownership of the businesses and how they have run their businesses, the manufacturing businesses of this state, up to this point. Have they been overextending their credit? Have they recklessly invested in capital projects that might not be paying off right now? Could they have invested their capital more wisely? And then it also gets down, obviously, to the worker level, because depending on how these owners or managers have run their manufacturing facilities is going to impact the worker. I talked just this week with a family-owned manufacturer in Kentucky, and he was telling me he took it over from his father, and his dad had run the plant very conservatively. And so he is in a position now where he's cut back his work week from 5 days to 4, but he's keeping his workers going because they had a conservative approach to financing the business. They didn't overextend their credit. Now, I know of some others who didn't do that, and there probably is going to be some fallout in that area. So depending on the type of manufacturer you have, depending on how they have financed the manufacturing facility, it's going to be an impact either big on workers or maybe a little more optimistic.
I think USA Today did a poll recently that identified personal finance as the #1 stressor for the individual worker in the workplace.
Well, it is, and Jan and I have talked about this starting last fall, I believe,
That's right.
wasn't it, Jan?
That's right.
Because I came to Jan, and one of the reasons that I'm on her board, and we formed a partnership together because teaching financial literacy not only to the kids in school is important to us, but also to the employees. You know, this all comes down to we Americans, I don't care whether you're students or 40-something-year-old manufacturing workers, and their owners and bosses making better personal choices on how we run business in our own financial lives. So Jan and I have been collaborating on how can we even bring these lessons that are being taught in the schools through her organization, the one that I'm now on the board, to the factory floor. And we've got to figure out a way to do that because our factory workers in Kentucky make good money, $45,000 a year on average. The per capita in Kentucky is only about 30. So it doesn't really matter how much money you make. You can make bad financial choices whether you're a $45,000 a year factory worker, which is a good wage, or a $250,000 executive or business owner.
Education plays an enormous role in this, and that's obviously important to you. Yet before I sat down with you to talk about this, I went to the computer and Googled financial literacy and found that there were over 1.5 million pages out there on all aspects of financial literacy and just dozens, scores of programs that are being offered. In the case of Fayette County, we have on the middle school and early high school level a program being offered by Junior Achievement in coordination with Leadership Lexington. You are working on something, as I understand it, that is targeted more toward the later years of high school in coordination with the Bar Foundation and Association, correct?
That is correct.
And I think it's called Credit Abuse Resistance Education,
That is
CARE.
correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I'd be happy to. I think the initiatives that we've undertaken, as you found when you Googled, we've got to figure out who our good partners are and to collaborate with them in an effective way. We are honored to partner with the Kentucky Association of Manufacturers for an initiative called Smart Kentucky, and we intend to add value to that initiative by really working with high school students. The program that you spoke of, I brought a workbook. This is it's a credit workbook for teens so that they can begin to understand that if it costs less than $20 and you could eat it or drink it, don't put it on a credit card. Kids need to understand the consequences of abusing credit, which means they can't get a student loan, perhaps. They can't get a mortgage for a home. They have collections agencies at their door, or possibly bankruptcy. So teaching kids to be smart about credit is essential. We have a lot of strong partnerships, not only with KAM. We work with the Federal Reserve Bank to make sure that we offer compelling lessons for teachers. Another aspect that I wanted to show you is that we also work with very young children. We believe that you can teach personal finance by reading a popular children's book. And so we've put together a bibliography for teachers or parents. If you're going to read to your child, why not read a book that talks about making money choices? And the last thing I wanted to say, because there is 1.5 million of us types out there, we wanted to work with all of our partners in Kentucky, Junior Achievement, the Fed, Consumer Counseling Credit, the Department of Financial Institutions, and we put together the first ever, we think, in Kentucky, a financial literacy summit. And we did this in June. We brought together 145 classroom teachers, business leaders, policymakers to talk about how can we have impact on Kentucky's education to make sure that when kids graduate, they've had an exposure to the practical side of life, managing money, being responsible with credit, and building assets.
Yes. Okay, and I'd like to take it now into the workplace on the other end of that experience. That student graduates from college, let's say, or maybe not, but winds up with an awful lot of credit card debt, is on the job now, is facing the stress of having to repay it and getting into trouble. Is financial literacy being taught in the private sector? Are private companies offering financial literacy programming to their employees?
We just had a board meeting the other day, in
right.
fact, with Jan, and we discussed this very issue. The answer is some are, many aren't. We need to get all of them doing it. And is that a big goal? Of course it is. But if we don't get that done, we're going to be in trouble. And the reason is because when employees, especially in manufacturing or any job for that matter, are stressed out, worried about possible bankruptcy, worried about just paying their next mortgage, productivity suffers.
Absolutely.
It has to. I mean, there's no question about it. So that's why, especially in manufacturing, really in any business, this is of keen interest to us now because we're in a global economy. This economy, we believe, will bounce back, and we have to be competitive in this global economy, which means we must outproduce the rest of the world because we pay higher wages in America. And to do that, we have to have our workers focused on what they're doing in front of them rather than worrying about what's going on in their checkbooks.
Martin Kish and Jan Mester, I really appreciate you taking time for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.